The lights inside the AGT theater dimmed just enough to make the air feel heavier, as if everyone could sense that something unusual was about to happen. The crowd buzzed with excitement, phones ready, judges relaxed in their seats until a small Filipino boy walked slowly onto the massive stage, holding the microphone with both hands. He looked tiny against the bright lights and towering set, his shoes slightly worn, his posture nervous but proud. The host asked his name, and his soft voice answered. Then came the question that changed everything: "What will you be singing today?" The boy took a deep breath, glanced at the judges, and said, "I will sing Lupang Hinirang." A few people in the audience leaned forward. Some didn't recognize the song yet. Others did, and their expressions instantly changed. This was not just a song. This was a nation's heartbeat. Before he sang a single note, the boy shared a short story. He spoke about growing up in a small neighborhood in the Philippines, where his parents worked long hours and music was the only thing that made their struggles feel lighter. He talked about singing the national anthem every morning at school, standing under the hot sun, hand over heart, dreaming that one day he could sing it for the world. His voice trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of the dream he was carrying. In that moment, he wasn't just a contestant. He was every child who ever dared to dream beyond their circumstances. The first note left his lips, and the theater fell completely silent. Lupang Hinirang filled the room, not loud, not dramatic, but pure and steady. His voice carried innocence and strength at the same time, echoing through the hall with a sincerity that couldn't be taught. The camera slowly moved across the judge's table. Heidi pressed her lips together, clearly moved. Howie leaned back, eyebrows raised. And Simon Cowell, known for his tough critiques and stone-cold expressions, sat unusually still, his eyes fixed on the boy, unblinking. As the song continued, the boy's confidence grew. His voice rose with pride, every lyric sung as if it came straight from his heart. The audience could feel it. This wasn't about hitting perfect notes. This was about honoring a homeland, about identity, about remembering where you come from no matter how far you go. Some audience members wiped their eyes. A few Filipinos in the crowd quietly placed their hands over their chests, whispering the words along with him. Halfway through the performance, the camera caught Simon swallowing hard. His usual skeptical smirk was gone. Instead, there was something far more human on his face: emotion. He leaned forward, elbows on the desk, as if pulled in by an invisible force. When the boy reached the final lines, his voice cracked just slightly, not from weakness but from overwhelming feeling. And when the last note faded into silence, there was a split second where no one moved. Then the entire theater exploded into applause. The audience stood up as one. Cheers echoed from every corner. The boy's eyes widened in disbelief, his hands shaking as he bowed his head. He looked toward the judges, searching their faces for confirmation that this was real. Simon stood up too. And that moment, Simon Cowell standing, clapping, visibly emotional, sent shockwaves through the room. When the judges finally spoke, their words only scratched the surface of what everyone felt. They talked about bravery, about heart, about how music can cross borders and languages. But Simon's comments hit deepest. He paused, took a breath, and admitted that he rarely gets emotional on this stage, but that performance reminded him why music matters. He said it wasn't just a song, it was a story, a message, and a gift. The boy listened, tears now freely falling, his dream unfolding in real time. Backstage, the boy hugged his parents tightly, sobbing into their shoulders. Years of sacrifice, of hope, of believing when it was hard to believe, everything led to this moment. And for millions watching around the world, it was a reminder that talent doesn't come from privilege alone. It comes from passion, from culture, from heart. As the episode ended, one truth remained clear: this wasn't just a performance on a talent show. It was a moment of unity, pride, and inspiration. A young Filipino child stood on one of the world's biggest stages and sang his nation's anthem with such honesty that even the toughest judge couldn't hold back his emotions. If this story moved you, if you felt the power of music and dreams crossing borders, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories like this. Your support helps us share voices that deserve to be heard. Because sometimes, all it takes is one brave child, one song, and one moment to remind the world what truly matters. The theater was loud just moments before, filled with chatter, laughter, and the familiar excitement of a live talent show, but the instant the small Filipino boy stepped onto the AGT stage, something shifted. It was subtle at first, like the air tightening, like the lights suddenly feeling brighter. He looked out at the sea of faces, thousands in the audience, millions watching at home, and for a brief second, fear flickered across his eyes. Then he held the microphone closer to his chest, took a breath, and walked forward. That single step felt like a lifetime. Before you continue watching this story, remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because moments like this deserve to be shared, remembered, and supported by people who believe in real talent and real dreams. The host knelt slightly to meet the boy at eye level and asked him his name. His answer came softly, almost shy, but clear. When asked where he was from, his chest lifted with pride. "The Philippines," he said. A ripple moved through the crowd. Some smiled warmly, others nodded, and a few already sensed that this audition would not be ordinary. Then came the question that made even the judges straighten in their chairs: "What will you be singing today?" The boy swallowed, his fingers tightening around the microphone, and said words that would soon echo far beyond that stage. "I will sing Lupang Hinirang." For a split second, there was confusion. Not everyone in the room recognized the title. But those who did felt their hearts skip. This was not a popular pop song. This was not a safe choice. This was the national anthem of the Philippines, a song loaded with history, sacrifice, struggle, and pride. Simon Cowell raised an eyebrow, not in judgment, but in curiosity. Choosing an anthem on a global stage took courage, especially for a child. Before singing, the boy was given a moment to speak. His story unfolded slowly, honestly. He talked about waking up early in a small home, about the sound of roosters in the morning and the smell of rice cooking as his mother prepared meals before work. He spoke of his father leaving before sunrise, coming home late, tired but smiling. Music, he said, was something that filled the silence when money was tight and worries were heavy. At school, every morning, he stood with his classmates and sang Lupang Hinirang. Over time, the song became more than routine. It became a reminder of who he was and where he came from. He admitted he was scared. Scared of forgetting the lyrics, scared of disappointing his family, scared of singing something so important in front of the world. But he also said something that made the room grow quiet. He said he wanted to sing it not just for himself, but for every Filipino child who dreams beyond the borders of their island, for every parent who sacrifices quietly, and for a country that taught him to stand tall even when life is hard. The music began softly. No flashy introduction, no dramatic build-up. Just his voice. The first note was gentle, almost fragile, but perfectly controlled. Lupang Hinirang flowed through the theater like a memory, steady and sincere. The audience leaned forward, drawn in by the purity of the sound. This was not a child trying to impress. This was a child telling a story through song. As he sang, images seemed to form in the minds of those listening: sunrise over mountains, flags waving in the wind, generations standing together. His pronunciation was clear, his emotion unmistakable. Each line carried respect. Each note carried pride. The judges were silent. No smiles, no whispers, no interruptions. Just listening. The camera moved to Simon Cowell. Known worldwide for his blunt critiques and emotional restraint, he looked different now. His jaw was tight. His eyes were locked on the stage. The usual distance he kept from performers was gone. He wasn't judging anymore. He was feeling. The boy's voice grew stronger as the song continued. His fear melted away, replaced by confidence and purpose. He stood straighter. His shoulders relaxed. The anthem rose and filled the room, not as a performance, but as a declaration. Some audience members wiped tears from their eyes. A few stood quietly, hands over their hearts. For Filipinos watching around the world, this moment felt deeply personal. It felt like home. Halfway through the song, the boy's voice wavered slightly, not from weakness, but from emotion. He steadied himself, took a breath, and continued. That small imperfection made the performance even more powerful. It was real.
It was human.
As the final lines approached, the tension was almost unbearable. The boy closed his eyes for just a moment, as if gathering every ounce of strength he had. Then he sang the last note, holding it with quiet dignity until it faded into silence. For one heartbeat, the theater was completely still. Then the explosion came. The audience rose to their feet in a standing ovation so loud it felt like thunder. Cheers echoed off the walls. Applause filled the air. The boy's eyes widened, shock and disbelief written across his face. He looked down, then back up, as if checking whether this was really happening. Simon Cowell stood up. That single action sent waves through the crowd. Simon was clapping, not politely, not casually, but with genuine emotion. His eyes were glassy. He nodded slowly, as if acknowledging something profound. When the applause finally softened, the judges began to speak. Heidi talked about bravery and heart. Howie spoke about how the performance made him feel something deep and unexpected. Then Simon took the microphone. He paused longer than usual, choosing his words carefully. He admitted that he had heard thousands of singers, but moments like this were rare. He said the boy reminded everyone that music isn't just about technique, it's about truth. He confessed that the performance touched him in a way he didn't expect, and that it was one of the most sincere auditions he had ever seen. The boy broke down in tears. Not loud, dramatic tears, but quiet ones, full of relief and joy. He bowed repeatedly, whispering thank you, his voice barely audible over the cheers. Backstage, his parents watched through tears of their own. Years of struggle, of choosing school fees over comfort, of believing in their child when the path was uncertain, had led to this moment. When the boy ran into their arms, the world seemed to disappear. There were no cameras then, no judges, no audience, just family. As the show continued, social media erupted. Clips of the performance spread rapidly. People from different countries shared it, even if they didn't understand the language. They felt the emotion. They felt the pride. Comments poured in about how a simple song had united millions for a few minutes. For the boy, life would never be the same. But the message of that night went far beyond him. It reminded viewers that courage comes in small forms, that honoring where you come from is a strength, not a limitation. It reminded parents that sacrifices matter, even when the reward isn't immediate. And it reminded everyone watching that dreams don't need permission to be big. As the episode ended, one image lingered, the image of a small Filipino child standing on a global stage, singing with a heart bigger than fear, bigger than doubt, bigger than the world watching him. If this story inspired you, if it made you feel proud, hopeful, or emotional, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more stories like this to life, stories of courage, talent, and dreams that refuse to stay small. Because sometimes, all it takes is one voice to remind the world who we are and what we can become.